Now we are going to go back to our unit circle and complete it, because we already know what means sine, cosine. So let me finish this. Remember, we had this point was 1/2. What's happening? This point was 1/2, and for the sake of pattern, I'm going to put square root of 1/2. This will be square root of 2/2, and this one will be square root of 3/2. Okay, now down here I will have, because y is negative, I will have negative square root 1/2. This one will be, this point will be negative square root of 2/2, and this point will be negative square root of 3/2. See how easy to lay down all these values. Now here, x, we are on the side of x. X on this side is negative, so will be negative 1/2. Well, okay, I can put again square root 1/2. This point here, negative square root 2/2, and negative square root 3/2. On this side we had positive, right? Positive 1/2. What's happening on this side? It doesn't want to write. 1/2. Interesting. Maybe that was the reason. So 1/2. No, it doesn't want to write. Square root 2/2. Okay, I'm going to write a little bit higher, so maybe it will take. It doesn't want to write. So square, let me write here, square root 1/2. Okay, it's working. Square root 2/2, and square root 3/2. Okay, this point and this point. All right, so we have the full picture of the unit circle. The only thing is missing here is negative angles. So negative angles are coming this way, opposite direction. I'm not going to rewrite the whole negative angle. All I will do it here, it's negative 90 degrees, right? Or will be negative pi/2. Here will be negative pi and negative 180 degrees, and so on. Here will be negative 3/2 pi, and it's going to be negative 270 degrees. And here we have 0. Okay. All right. Let me fix this one also. Okay, now let's work with this unit circle. What for we wrote all this here? So, to remind you, sine alpha is equal y, cosine alpha is equal x. Okay, what does that mean? Let's use that. So if I take this point at 60 degrees or pi/3, doesn't matter, I can write down that sine 60 degrees is equal Sine 60 degrees, it's gonna be this vertical line, right? This length, which is how much? Square root 3 over 2, correct? Here it is. Square root 3 over 2. This is gonna be your y. Here, if I provide this line, there we go. It's gonna be square root 3 of 2. Cosine 60 degrees is our x, yes? So x is gonna be from here to here. It's gonna be 1/2. Okay, next. Let me see. Let me take which one? Sine 120 degrees. Okay. Sine 120 degrees, it's going to be this vertical line, right? Y, which is equal square root 3 over 2. And cosine 120 degrees is equal, here it is, negative 1 over 2. And the other one I can take is, let's take sine 300 degrees. Sine 300 degrees, it's going to be negative square root 3 over 2. See that? Here it is. And cosine 300 degrees will be equal, here it is, positive 1/2. Actually, I took on purpose this 60 degrees, and then, 1 second, let me pick up. Okay, this 60 degrees going horizontally, and then going vertically. I'll tell you in a minute why. I did that on purpose. Why? Because if we pay attention, look, they share 60 degrees and 120 degrees, they share the same y, yes? So first quadrant and second quadrant have the same y, which is positive, yes? So let's see, sine 60 should be equal to the sine 120. Let me see, sine 60, square root 3 over 2, sine 120, the square root 3 over 2. Okay, now 60 degrees and 300 degrees, they have opposite y's, right? Since 60 degrees have positive y, 300 degree has negative y, which means it's going to be same absolute value, but different sign here. See, the sine 60 degrees, square root 3 over 2, sine 300 degrees, negative square root 3 over 2. Okay? Now let's look at the values of cosine. On the other hand, 60 degrees and 300 degrees, they share the same cosine. Here it is, see? Which is value of x, same. So cosine 60 degrees is 1/2. Cosine 300 degrees is 1/2. Make sense? Okay. So if I provide further line here, look, I'm coming from 300 degrees to this 240 degrees. What does that mean? They do share the same y, correct? Negative y. which means if I write down sine 240 degrees, that's going to be negative square root 3 over 2. And cosine 240 degrees, which is this one, it's going to be negative 1/2. So 240 degree sharing the same cosine, meaning same x, with 120 degrees, right? Look at this x, cosine x. It's the same, belongs to 120 and belongs to 240. Let's check. Cosine to the 120 is negative 1/2. And the cosine 240 and negative 1/2. This is how you read it. Next one, I am looking for sine 45 degrees. Sine for 45 degrees, it's going to be square root 2 over 2. Cosine for 45 degrees, again, will be square root 2 over 2. Let me take 30 degrees. 30 degrees, or pi over 6. Sine of pi over 6 is going to be 1/2, right? Right here. Cosine of pi over 6, it's going to be square root 3 over 2. Sine of 210 degrees, sine, it's going to be, here it is, negative 1/2. Cosine of 210 degrees, it's going to be negative square root 3 over 2. That's all. You don't need to memorize anything. Once you build all this, it's easy to use. One thing I want to write down, also finish with this. So quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. In quadrant 1, this one, x is positive, y is positive, right? Which means cosine will be positive, sine will be positive. Second quadrant, cosine is going to be negative. Here it is. And sine is going to be positive. So pay attention in the first and second quadrant. Let me see. Sine has the same positive sign. But in the first and third quadrant, cosine is going to be the same, negative, and sine positive. So for the second and third quadrant, cosine is negative here, negative here. So what is common with third and fourth quadrant? Cosine is positive, sine is negative. So, yeah. So, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Here it's supposed to be negative. Okay. So that's why I was staring. What is something is wrong? And then I'm looking. Yeah, of course. So, fourth and third quadrant has y the same, right? Negative y, or sine alpha is the same, negative. So first and fourth quadrant have the same cosine, right? They have the same cosine, plus and plus. Okay? So this is all about unit circle. And pay attention. If this is 1, this point here, coordinate is 1 and 0, yes? Here coordinate is, okay, let me rewrite on new circle. So it won't be too crowded. So this is my unit circle because it's unit circle, we have 1, right? So here we have in this point, my cosine is positive, sine is 0, right? So I will have 1 and 0. This one is messed up. Okay, in this point, it's gonna be cosine is 0, sine is y, because cosine here it's 0, it doesn't have any cosine, and sine is your y. In this point, we have cosine negative, because x is negative, negative 1, and sine is 0. And in this point, we have sine is negative 1, and cosine is the completely opposite. We have cosine is 0 and sine negative 1. So look around, the sine, cosine, they can go maximum from negative 1 to positive 1. The same way, your y can go from negative to positive only, which means cosine alpha can be greater equal negative 1, less equal positive 1, period. That's the range it can fluctuate. And sine alpha can be greater equal negative 1, less equal positive 1. Okay? And I wanted to say one more thing. Okay, I'll leave it for next video. It is too much information. I'll leave it for next video, okay? Okie dokie, thanks for watching. Maybe it's too much information to digest, but you can go slow, and you have to understand every single word I said, because it's crucially important for calculus and pre-calculus, as a matter of fact. Okie dokie.